Welcome back, and joining me for a closer look at what's played out on the market scene today is Momentum Securities' Faheema Adia. Thank you so much for your time, Faheema. Not just company news that we have been digesting over the last few weeks, especially this week, because we have the South African Reserve Bank coming out with its latest interest rate decision. It's going to be quite interesting to see how that vote is split between the MPC members in a low inflation environment. What are you expecting there?
Good evening, Zanati. Thanks for having me. Yes, it's going to be a tough one. I mean, there's just so much going on at the moment in terms of the global tariffs, so many moving parts. It's not certain whether Trump will be able to come to negotiations with all these countries.
Yeah.
He's recently just said he wants to put a 50% tariff on the EU. So all these things, of course, can have an inflationary impact, which is something that they do need to take into concern at the meeting. But like you said, on a more positive note, we've seen inflation really cooling, and it has set the stage to, I say, cut the rates, but given the headwinds we're facing, we'll have to wait and see.
All right. Well, let's take a look at some of the company news that we have. Pick n Pay. It's been a very, very interesting results season. Actually, a lot of companies coming out with good numbers. Pick n Pay releasing their annual results, talking about FY25 being the initial leg of the recovery. Of course, we've heard Sean Summers talking about a multi-year strategy, a turnaround there. But they are still in loss-making territory, even though that did narrow. What's your take on what Pick n Pay was able to produce?
So yes, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction to see that loss narrowed. They're saying that the trading profit from the core Pick n Pay business is at least increasing.
Yeah.
Of course, Boxer does account for a big chunk of the trading profit, so that helped to bolster that. But I think on a more negative note, they did say that they have to push out that break-even point from 2027 to 2028, which just shows how difficult it's actually been in turning that business around.
Yeah.
But I guess on a more positive note, at least they've decided to keep Summers on until they're done with that complete turnaround at the end of 2028.
I was actually surprised because I would have thought that them kicking the can forward in terms of when the Pick n Pay stores division would actually reach a break even, would have markets experiencing some jitters. Is it just a case of the markets understanding what Pick n Pay is trying to do at this point and really it being a wait and see game?
So I think the markets really appreciated the transparency,
Okay.
Pick n Pay has continuously said this is going to take time.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be overnight. It's going to take a couple of years. So I think that they are grateful that management is being clear and communicating this upfront.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's go into industrial equipment company Barloworld. They came out with their half-year numbers today. We did have a slump from revenue, and also going down to a double-digit decrease in headline earnings per share. Is this a company just in a difficult macroeconomic environment here that it can't escape from?
Yes, I think that's exactly it, Zanati. It's just been a very tough environment, in particular because of the pressure on the mining sector. So, that impacts the equipment side of the business.
Yeah.
So the Russian business, of course, was impacted because of sanctions. It's also under investigation by the US. If we look at the Southern Africa equipment business, also under a lot of pressure. On a positive note, the Mongolia business did quite well. But yes, all in all, I think it's been a very difficult period for Barloworld, and we're still seeing headwinds. But the consortium that's looking to buy out the shares has actually extended that offer, so shareholders are in a position to still sell.
I was actually wondering, because we didn't see much movement on that. I'm just wondering at this point, are investors just trading on the deal at this point and not really the numbers that we are seeing?
Exactly, yes. Because that deal's been pushed out until next month, I think it's basically just keeping that price elevated.
All right. Well, let's go into the kind of, actually, before we go into this game, another company that came out with numbers is Altron. We did have revenue being flat there, but of course that including a company that is not in continuing operations, but then actually quite a great gains on the bottom line. We did see the share climbing almost 3% initially after the numbers were out. Is this just continuing on its positive momentum?
Yeah, so I think what really drove earnings here was just that they focused on more high margin revenue. And if we look at the platform growth, that was also quite strong. Looking at the performance from Netstar and also the other fintech businesses is pretty good. So some headwinds ahead, but I think they're pretty well positioned.
Yeah, headwinds in terms of the macroeconomic environment that maybe they need to be aware of, where they might not be able to kind of keep the same level of growth.
Yes, exactly. I mean, with all these ongoing tariffs and those headwinds coming through, that's always a concern now, in that they just don't really know what to expect going forward.
All right. Well, let us go into Dis-Chem. It came out with a full year trading statement. I think they are releasing results on Friday. We did see the share, actually one of the big winners on the JSE, surging over 6%. After the release of the statement. Not a lot of color. But care to fill us in on what boosted investor confidence?
So I actually had to look at their last trading update in Jan, just before their financial year ended. So what they said is they're actually seeing pretty strong performance come through from both the retail side and the wholesale side. And the dispensary side of the business has been very strong. They're actually seeing a lot of market share gains come through from that. Their TLC franchise has also performed pretty well. So I think the market was pleasantly surprised, given that consumers have been under so much pressure, but this business still really managed to perform.
All right. Well, let's go into Renergen. I mean, that business is not really performing when you look at their numbers, but the investors have been trading on quite a number of announcements, and today we had a new one, actually, that the Department of Mineral Resources has dismissed an appeal against Renergen from a Springbok Solar against helium rights. Just talk to us about that, and just really the broader sentiment on Renergen since they came out with the deal that ASP Isotopes is buying it out.
Yeah, I think things are really starting to look up for Renergen. The second week, we're seeing some positive news. So basically, the Minister of Mineral Resources said that Renergen does indeed have the rights to the helium and the LNG at the Virginia Gas project. It completely dismissed Springbok's case. And I think it just really provides the clarity, if there was any doubt, that investors needed to know that Renergen does indeed have access to these resources. They can commercialize it. So I think that will be good for the share price too going forward.
All right. Well, let us take a look at your stock pick for today, Faheema. What are you hanging your hat on?
So I'm looking at MTN. So looking at the recent results from MTN, I just think we're really seeing a turn in that business, in particular from the Nigerian side of the business and also Ghana. So in Nigeria, the main issue there was the massive currency devaluation in the Naira, also inflation. But we're starting to see both of that stabilize. They also managed to increase their tariffs in Nigeria, which really makes that business a lot more sustainable long term. Looking at Ghana, we also saw some pretty strong growth come through from there. The fintech side of the business has been doing very well, and it's an under-penetrated market so in Africa, so I think we'll continue to see a lot of growth come from there. And then just looking at the valuation, it's on a forward PE of 10. If we compare it to Vodacom's at 12, so just looking relatively better priced, I would say.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your insights on what has moved investors' money today, Faheema. Much appreciated. That was Faheema Adia from Momentum Securities.